AP African American Studies is now under fire in the state of Arkansas, and I want to discuss that and then also get to a larger discussion about something it connects to, and we'll look at a part of an interview on Fox News with the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, that will be kind of our jumping off point for this discussion. We'll respond to what she has to say. I'm seeing, just as a little bit of context before diving into that clip, some contradictory reporting about what exactly is happening at the moment in Arkansas. So we'll look at what I mean by that. This is ABC News. The Arkansas Department of Education has removed the AP African American Studies course from its school in what the state's professional organization of educators called a last minute decision. But then over here on USA Today, you see access to AP African American Studies is now in question for dozens of students in Arkansas, the latest state to challenge the course over what it calls, as we've heard a million times, indoctrination. It's a voluntary course. You can just take it to get extra college credit to learn more in depth. It's ridiculous. Teachers were told late last week about the shift just ahead of the school year beginning across the state. The Arkansas Department of Education said students who take the course, banned earlier this year in Florida, could not earn high school credit for the class, in part because it is still in a pilot phase. So I'm fuzzy on if that means you can't take it, or if you do take it, you're not getting credit, which is the same for a lot of students who need to get credits, obviously, as not being able to take it. So either way it goes, an assault on that course, and in the name of fighting back against this mythical indoctrination that they are fear-mongering about. And on that note, we will look at Sarah Huckabee Sanders, like I said, the governor of Arkansas, getting asked about this. And then we have lots to discuss.
A little bit of controversy right now. There's an accusation that the Arkansas Education Department removed credit for controversial AP African American Studies course. Let me just read to you what the NAACP said and let you respond. They said the Arkansas State Conference of the NAACP is appalled at the recent decision of Arkansas Department of Education to make a hasteful decision at the final hour to do away with AP African American Studies. Is that really what happened there?
Absolutely not. And one of the things that we have talked about so much, and Dana, I think the point that you made a minute ago about the staggering numbers that we're seeing across this country, we've got to get back to the basics of teaching math, of teaching reading, writing, and American history. And we cannot perpetuate.
What was that pivot? I'm confused. She says, no, that's not happening, but then starts arguing for why it should happen, I guess, because she's justifying with the normal talking points we hear in response to the attempt to remove courses like this from the options that high school students have and college students. I don't know what she's saying here, but we'll respond to the general point she's making about we need to get back to reading and writing and all that.
Perpetuate a lie to our students and push this propaganda leftist agenda, teaching our kids to hate America and hate one another. It's one of the reasons that we put into law banning things like indoctrination and CRT. We want our kids to receive a quality education, and we want to make sure that every student has access to it and a pathway to prosperity, and that's exactly what we're doing here in the state of Arkansas.
And of course, by that, she means that that's not happening in the state of Arkansas. She banned critical race theory for K through 12 students, while it wasn't being taught to K through 12 students because that's a higher ed course. So that's not a step towards any progress. But to address kind of the specifics of this, Republicans are bravely standing up for the quality of education for students in reading and writing, and they're the ones who care about that. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders bravely fighting back against the indoctrination of AP African American Studies. Just to go through some information from U.S. News and World Report, we've gone through it before, but it nicely emphasizes this very point, or what refutes the point that she made there. Arkansas is ranked, when you look at pre-K through 12 education, 39 of 50, 43 out of 50 states when you look at overall education, but 39 when you look at specifically pre-K through 12. And the top 5 states for pre-K through 12 education are blue states: New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, and Illinois. And maybe you'll respond if you're on Sarah Huckabee's side on this argument. Well, that's because they probably use woke metrics. They're not focusing on the core subjects that Republicans focus on in their states. Well, NAEP reading scores is how this is calculated. Math scores, high school graduation rate, preschool enrollment, and college readiness. That sounds like what we want to be taught in pre-K through 12. And top 5 best states ranked on those metrics, blue states. So clearly, this leftist agenda is actually working pretty well for students, pretty well in these blue states that are fear-mongered about. Whereas Arkansas, 39, almost 40th out of 50 states when ranked on these same metrics. So maybe this war on woke actually doesn't serve the constituents of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, as we talk about constantly. Not to mention, the state of Arkansas is ranked top 10 on both crime and poverty. In the top 10, 6th on poverty, and in the 5, 6, 7 realm on, I forgot to grab that statistic, but specifically 6th on poverty and top 10 on crime, as far as bad, in a negative direction. And on so many different metrics, as we talk about very often, blue states disproportionately, whether it be education, infrastructure, crime, poverty, are measured way better disproportionately than red states. And so as you see these talking points, you have to remember that not because we're, you have worse metrics, not at all, but because the policies of these Republicans so often are failing their constituents. And that's what they're distracting from. That is what is being distracted from with these culture war talking points, with the constant obsession with fighting back against woke and CRT and claiming the left to be going after your kids and indoctrinating them, and the LGBTQ community is doing this, that, and the other thing, and we have to fight back against it. And meanwhile, we'll get to later in today's show, these talking points, while dishonest and distracting from the fact that these Republican policies are failing people, cause real damage. Lives are being lost because of the fear-mongering about, in my last example, LGBTQ people. And so we see that on the statewide basis for sure in state government. And also when we zoom out to national, absolutely the case. The better performance of Democratic policies has to be distracted from with nonsense like this. We're going to go after classes where people could learn very valuable information in the name of fighting back against woke, to make that the focus of their voters instead of their failures. And so what I mean by that is on very basic metrics that are often referenced, kind of very central parts of politics, I should say. Economy, nationally, Democratic administrations oversee much better economic metrics than Republican administrations over the last 100 years across multiple Democratic and Republican administrations. Not to mention fiscal responsibility, smaller increases are again overseen by Democratic administrations to the deficit and debt than that of Republican administrations. And all of that is true while Democratic administrations and Congresses oversee the implementation of very popular social programs, such as, over the course of time, Medicare, Social Security, these progressive programs that are fought against with the conservative movement of the time, and then later accepted because of how effective and popular they end up being. So all of those facts, again, have to be distracted from, look somewhere else, and that's where you get this from Sarah Huckabee Sanders of, I'm making education better by getting rid of courses that people could voluntarily choose to take to get college accreditation, and fighting back against woke and indoctrination. Meanwhile, the education in Arkansas isn't actually improving. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.